my name is Ben Cutler, back here again with WinPure, one of our solution specialists. I've been mastering data since 2015. Today, as a part of this short video series, we're going to drill into how to use the WinPure's Clean and Match Master Data Management solution and how to know if your data is any good, right? And so what does it mean to have good data? Lots of definitions on the market, right? Depending on who you ask. Standard, definitions of data quality would look at the accuracy and consistency and the integrity and the uniqueness and a variety of other data quality dimensions, right? And all of that is true, but of course, all of that is really driven by the business and by the context for which the data is being used. The context is extremely important. So perhaps a better definition of data quality looks at whether or not the data is really fit for purpose. Is it fit for reporting purposes? Is it fit for production purposes? Is it fit to deploy in such a system? Is it fit to perform well within its target system? Right? There's a variety of potential possibilities that way. So we can talk about accuracy and consistency and integrity and things like that. But again, at the end of the day, at least from my perspective, it's more about being fit for purpose. It's a better way of describing data quality. Your purpose is certainly going to be different than my purpose. What person A does with customer data, could be very different than what person B does with customer data. And the view of that data certainly needs to be different from use case to use case. The content and the structure of that data may need to be very different from use case to use case. Sharing data or pushing data from one system to another, you'll need to prep the data for that target system. And certainly in the context of master data management, where we're generally we're kind of extracting data from multiple systems, multiple disparate systems and databases and data sources, and we're bringing that data together to essentially match and merge, so we have kind of a final data set, and then maybe do some transformation to the content and the structure to prepare for that kind of target system, so to speak. This is where it can get pretty interesting. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at that a little bit more in detail. Again, a very short, high-level video from WinPure. We're going to look at WinPure's Clean and Match Master Data Management tool. We're going to look at the system and some of the tools that we have here, some of the different approaches that you might take to determine whether or not the data is quality and if the data is fit for purpose. So let's go ahead and drill into this here. You should see my screen on your screen here. We're looking at the WinPure's Clean and Match Master Data Management System. We're going to first log out of the system. We're going to go ahead and log back into the system just to look at the login process here. If you look on the left side of the screen, you can see that we're on the data list module. This is where we can find all of the data that's being processed within the WinPure's Clean and Match Master Data Management System. So just over to the right here, and if you did see the first video in the series, you should recognize these data sets. Essentially, the business use case is that we're getting started with master data management. We've kind of extracted customer information from multiple disparate systems. That's a billing system or an ERP. That's an old CRM, and that is a new CRM. And in these very small data sets here, in this kind of data story, what we're doing is we're essentially representing a single customer in multiple different systems, and even a duplicate of that customer within one of those business systems that way. So again, we're gonna kind of go step by step here and just look at a few of the different ways that a user of the WinPure Clean and Match Master Data Management System would use this system to determine whether or not the data is any good. So let's jump into it. Again, on the screen here, you can see the data from the three different sources coming from billing, new CRM, and old CRM. In the last video, we looked at kind of a high-level process to implement or to get started with MDM, which is extract from the source systems, import into the master data management system, get hands-on with the data, analyze the data, do some data discovery to better understand the different potential problems and issues with the content and the structure from source to source. We also looked at what it would take to set up the matching and even the merge and survivorship. In today's video, we're just going to look at a few different ways that that a user of the master data management system here would determine whether or not the data is any good. So again, we still have the same 3 sources of data. From this data list step, we can eyeball the data. We can open the data set. We can take a better look at the content and the structure of each data set, really looking at the different column headers from source to source, some of the values from source to source, where the blanks exist and things like that. Again, to know if the data is any good, you've really got to be able to argue with the data, right? You've got to analyze the data. So, that is often done with multiple tools and, potentially even between multiple people and multiple, systems and things like that. But from our system here, you're of course always going to want to eyeball the data, eyeball the content and the structure. You want to better understand where the data is coming from, what it's being used for. There's a variety of possibilities that way. But eyeballing is certainly a part of it, right? You've really got to understand what you're working with here. So from this data list step, we can certainly eyeball the data just by opening up the data sets. We can download the data and we can do some things in Excel to further understand the data. We can also use our quick access key here to open up our data quality statistics, which allows us to look at large data sets very quickly and very easily to better understand the content and the structure of each data set, column by column or field by field. So that's what we're looking at here, is we're looking at the data quality statistics. You can see that in the upper left here. We're looking at data from the old CRM. And then top to bottom here, we're looking at the field names, so the column headers from that data set. So these are just the different column headers from this old CRM data set. And then left to right here, what you're seeing are a variety of data quality metrics to better understand the content and the structure. There isn't a single system on this planet or a single untrained system on this planet that can tell you whether or not the data is any good, right? Any system, any solution that's looking at data quality will also need a user to tell the system what to look for. This system is set up for you let's just say to evaluate the data set, to analyze the data set, to profile the data set, and to return to the user a variety of statistical information or reference data about the data set and granularly. So it's column by column. So again, what you're seeing here are the column headers. And then if you look up top here, you're seeing the field type and the filled percentage and the empty percentage and the distinct values. And this is trailing spaces and commas and dots and hyphens. These are apostrophes. There's also another metric here for leading spaces. And if you follow this over, there's really quite a bit of information here. Letters, numbers, these are non-printable characters. These are values that contain spaces. If you follow this over a little bit further, you're going to see a metric here for multiple spaces. So that's when you have, for example, maybe it's a person's name, Ben Cutler, like my own. Multiple spaces is when you might have multiple leading spaces or multiple trailing spaces or multiple spaces between the first and the last name, for example. So this can be very useful as well. A little over far to the right here, we have the profiler trained to pick up on the tab character. So in other words, when you've extracted the data from the source systems, our system is going to immediately look at the data. We're not, the user here doesn't actually have to tell the system what to look for. The system has already been trained to look for all of these metrics with spaces, multiple spaces, tab characters, and then to produce a report of sorts that'll tell the user where these issues exist, column by column or field by field. So again, if you take a look here and you see with spaces, and there's a 0 here next to the ID, old CRM, that means that not a single ID from this field here, not a single value from this field contains spaces, right? So it helps us to better understand the content and the structure of the data set, right? And so when mastering data and extracting data from multiple systems and again, loading into the master data management system and applying some rules to cleanse and transform and standardize and normalize the data set, it's important to have a good understanding of both the content and the structure of those data sets. So again, this is a very, very helpful tool. The statistics are produced for the user just as soon as the user imports the data into our system. So again, this is very, very simple to use, and it allows us to better understand the content and the structure of large data sets very quickly and very easily. So without going into all of the different metrics here, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to talk about some of the different ways that that a user of our WinPure's Clean and Manage Master Data Management solution would use the solution to know whether or not the data is any good, to know whether or not the data is fit for purpose. Surely, if your target system, if let's just say you're deploying a new target system, you're deploying a new, system of record, so to speak, in the context of master data management, or you're deploying a new, CRM or a new ERP or something along those lines. Each system will have its own requirements, right? Each target system will have its own requirements. So, that'll include field lengths and, rules about, what, is required and which fields require values and when blanks are acceptable and when blanks are not acceptable. So, again, having all of this information in a report like this, easily produced just as soon as the data is imported into the system. And this is also something that we can export. This is certainly a tool that you're going to want to use to better understand the content and the structure and to know whether or not the data is any good. So let's go ahead and close this view here. We want to keep this video very short, very high level, just give you kind of a high level look at some of the tools, some of the different approaches to knowing whether or not the data is any good. So we talked about using the profiling statistics to better understand the content and the structure. Beyond that, we could certainly compare those data quality statistics from source to better understand the content and the structure of source to source, right? Not just understanding the content and the structure of a single data set, right? But in the context of master data management, when we're matching and linking and kind of merging or deduplicating these data sets, it's really important to understand the content and the structure of each data set. So we might just simply download the statistics and maybe even in Excel compare these statistics from source to source. But that, just another potential approach there. Beyond that, one of the biggest and most obvious issues, one of the issues that really creates the biggest lack of confidence in the data or in the data quality is going to be duplicate data, right? So one of the best ways to better understand the quality of the data and whether or not it's fit for purpose is importing the data into the system, maybe doing some, general cleanup of the data sets to better understand the content and the structure, and then actually run some simulations here within the system, matching simulations, right? Match and merge, merge, purge, deduplication, some of these simulations within the system to better understand the uniqueness, right? So be it a single data set or data from multiple disparate systems, it's to pull it all together into a single system that can do this matching for you, this error tolerant, fuzzy type of data matching for you. And that can be done in customer name or address or product description. There's a variety of possibilities that way. But of course, a big part of data quality and being fit for purpose is working with a unique data set. So records that are unique or customers that are unique or addresses, locations that are unique. So another way that you'd better determine whether or not the data is any good is to actually run some simulations here, right? Look at the before, look at the after, better understand the content and the structure before cleansing and after cleansing. Look at the content and structure, and even using our profiling and statistics here, before matching and after matching. Again, maybe extracting, let's just say 1 million records, from 3 different sources. So we have 3 million records. After a deduplication exercise, the total number of unique customers, products, addresses, assets might be something like 1 million instead of 3 million, right? So again, you can easily run the simulations from within the system here to better understand if the data is actually unique. Lastly, in terms of different approaches that you might use from within the system here, some of the different tools that WinPure has to offer is going to be address verification, email verification, phone verification. These are some of the other ways that you might want to look at the data. So again, data quality is going to be different, person to person, use case to use case, department to department, and it's really about being fit for purpose, right? What a customer service representative or what someone in sales does with data, what they're concerned about, what they're looking for, the content, the structure that they need the data in, the type of presentation or view of the data is always going to be very different than someone else in some other department performing other job duties, right? So very interesting stuff talking about fit for purpose. Let's take a quick look here at some of the tools. We've got clean. From clean, we're going to choose a data set. From there, we're going to have the data quality statistics down below. We looked at that previously. From here, we can download those statistics. We can also use our advanced view. That puts everything in a single view that way. We've got 4 different windows on our screen. We have the statistics in the upper left. We have the different tools to do the cleansing and the normalization and transformation down the lower left. So I'm sorry, upper left are the statistics. Lower left is where we actually do the cleansing. And on the right side of the screen here, we're actually able to drill into the data even further. So in the lower right, we have a data preview, and that just allows us to eyeball the data set. This is a very small data set, contains just 2 records, 2 duplicate records based on matching on a company name. And that just allows us to keep the data set in view to better understand the content and the structure. And then up top here in the upper right is where we're actually able to preview values from specific data sets and from specific columns that meet specific conditions. So what that means is we're actually going to use the statistics in the upper left side of the screen here, where we can look for specific potential issues where we might want to better understand why address 2 contains dots. So what this tells us in the statistics area here is that we have address 2, if you follow this over, that intersects with dots. So it says that we have 2 values in the address 2 field that contains dots. And then again, we're looking at this source by source. What we're seeing over here are the 2 address values that do contain dots. So again, this allows the user to easily drill into large data sets very quickly and very easily using very smart tools built for non-business users. Beyond that, again, we talked about matching and looking at the uniqueness. That's something we've looked at in the first video. That's something we'll come back and look at in other videos as well. So we're going to leave it there for today, friends. Appreciate you joining us. Again, my name is Ben Cutler. I'm one of our solution specialists here at WinPure. I've been mastering data since 2015. We're looking at our WinPure's Clean and Match MDM solution. I appreciate your time. For more information, please visit winpure.com. Thank you again, and have a great day. Please stay tuned.